Hello, my friends. This is an addendum. We can think of it as a kind of part two on the Taliban in Afghanistan and their takeover of the government on August 15, 2021. There are two additional things that occurred to me that I should share that I didn't mention in the video that I just made about it. Number one is, could we use astrology for military strategy? Could we foresee that August 15 would be a potentially strong day for the Taliban that we could be prepared for? The answer is yes, very, very clearly. I'll show you an example of how we can see this. Is here we're looking at the 7 vibration chart for August 15 at 1 p.m. And as I explained in the first video in the series, we have this Mars-Jupiter-Uranus T-square, which is at the heart of this sudden takeover, the sudden, relatively easy takeover of the government by the Taliban. Now, let's do the time adjust. So I click on time adjust. Oh, by the way, before I do this, I've gone to settings, house system, and I changed the houses to 0 Aries houses instead of equal houses because that'll keep 0 Aries here on the left. And let's watch this Jupiter opposition Uranus. As we go back, I go to time adjust 1 day. So I go back 1 day earlier. You see the Jupiter Uranus is now a thinner line, Jupiter opposition Uranus. Go back 2 days. It's still there. Thin, but it's there. 3 days, very thin. 4 days, other planets are involved. So the Jupiter-Uranus is now almost out of orb, but Mercury's there and Venus is there, and a bunch of things are there 4 days earlier. So if we go back 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, where's our Jupiter-Uranus? It's almost non-existent. A little tiny skinny line. So what happens from August 8th to the 15th is that Jupiter-Uranus opposition gets stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger until we reach, here we are at the 12th. And there, now the Jupiter-Uranus is there. You can see it. The thickness of this line relates very closely to the effect. It's no longer just like a little skinny line. It's clearly there. It's coming into power, into focus. And by the 13th, it's there. Jupiter-Uranus is there. 14th, it's there. It's picked up Mercury with another line, but Mercury moves fast and won't stay there very long. And on the 15th, there, the Jupiter-Uranus is extremely strong, and Mars moves into the square to both of them, making the T-square. When you watch that build, you see how it builds. Mars moves in right when the Jupiter-Uranus becomes very, very powerful. So, and for part of the day, Mercury is making trines and sextiles to the Jupiter-Uranus. We saw Mercury-Mars-Uranus in 9/11, and here on the 15th at 1 p.m., at 1 p.m. we have Uranus aspecting Mercury, Mercury aspecting Mars, Mars aspecting Uranus. So it's just the buildup of this optimism and enthusiasm. Mars moving in, which is the trigger planet for the violence, and there you have it. And then as we move away from the 15th, the Mars-Uranus is there. I mean, the Jupiter-Uranus opposition is there, but now the Mars is weak. It was specifically the 15th. If the Taliban didn't move on the 15th, their strength and ability to do it so easily would have been not quite as clear and obvious and direct. The 15th was the day. And here we are by the 18th, and everything has weakened. Now, an interesting thing happens, just to make a little prediction. I'm making this video on the 17th. I'll go back to the 17th. Here's what it looks like on the 17th. I'm looking at the 7 vibration chart at 1 o'clock in the afternoon in Afghanistan. Here we are on the 18th, and on the 19th, the Jupiter is at 11, Uranus is at 13, Jupiter's retrograding away from being exact, but the Sun is moving in. And what we have on the 19th and the 20th is the Sun moving into this configuration. And on the 20th, the Sun is opposition Jupiter in between the Uranus and Neptune. And we can see it's, it's right in there, making this whole Sun, Uranus, Neptune, opposition Jupiter. So I'm expecting also Mercury trining this for at least part of the day on the 20th. So I'm making this on Tuesday the 17th. By Friday the 20th, there's going to be a kind of like inauguration or celebration or something for their victory. So I have no news or idea about this, but that's what the astrology says. So let's see if that little celebration or maybe people are appointed positions, something going on around Friday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then it starts to fade out. Okay, so that's all to answer the question. Could we have predicted this? Can we use astrology for strategy, for political strategy, for military strategy? Absolutely. This was very clear. Years ago, or a year or 2, 3 years ago, I used to make a lot of political forecasts. I've stopped doing that, but this would have been very straightforward. I stopped doing it just because I'm too busy with my other research and software development and stuff to do that. Second thing I want to talk about is, what do we do exactly? How do we think about this? I think it's important to look at things in perspective. Afghanistan is on the western edge of Pakistan, just west of India and east of Iran. Well, let's pull up a Google map so we can look at this. And that area of Pakistan is where the Indus Valley civilization was. And so when we talk about 7 vibration and going deep and going ancient, what is more ancient and deep and profound than the Indus Valley civilization? So, we're right in that same area with, with Afghanistan. So let's pull it up. I just want to say one little bit about this. That so here we are with Afghanistan, and how do I remove this thing? Well, it doesn't matter. We can see Afghanistan. And let me just stretch this out a little bit so we can get a better look at it. All right, so here's Afghanistan, here's Iran to its west, here's India and Pakistan on the east side of Afghanistan, and roughly Pakistan right up in here and all the way down to the coast is where the Indus Valley civilization is. One of the oldest, greatest civilizations. What we do, astrology, has ancient roots in the Middle East. There was some form of astrology in the Indus Valley civilization. Astrology remained strong, not only in the Middle East, but India. There's a lot of wisdom. If you read some of the great ancient Islamic scholars and people from these regions, their high level of spirituality and sensitivity and awareness is so inspiring. All the way out west into Turkey, the mystical poets of Iran. Wow, the culture, the refinement. So I think if we go deep enough, 7 vibrations is a kind of a meditation. We don't want to lose sight of what's been covered over by ignorance, violence, whatever adjectives you want, descriptors you want to put in there, that can be uncovered somehow and reborn. And somehow in that first presentation, in talking about the 5 vibration, the 29 vibration, that we can hold that in our hearts and our minds, that even under the worst of situations, to try to revive those little threads that have not completely died of the beauty of the ancient cultures, the wisdom that's gotten covered over and lost. So in solving a problem, what we do in vibrational astrology is we have to take the best of that energy and bring it out. And there is this 7 vibration quality involved there. Anyway, I wanted to just acknowledge that side of things and give full respect to the great ancient traditions and wisdom which have not completely died, and some people continue those, and hopefully they can can grow and flourish and push out the extreme ugliness and violence and destruction that some of these extremist groups have brought into our lives. Okay, thank you very much for listening, my friends. God bless. Namaste.